I think for me the biggest key were, because you hear a lot of the sports analogies, right?
Yeah.
As you mentioned some of them, teamwork and hustle and all that kind of thing.
Hard work.
Consistent hard work.
Consistently hard work.
I think the number one thing that I took out of it, or that made the difference for me, was understanding what unstoppable commitment is. Okay, there's no...
Not just commitment,
just being unstoppable. Like, I'm not going to say no to that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm tired today. Tough. Get up and do it.
Yeah.
Hurts. I'm playing. I'm going to learn. I'm going to take the extra step. I'm not going to allow something to stop me. Really being unstoppable. And as a competitor, you don't win the NBA championship in June. You win the NBA championship in August and September and October.
Yeah.
And when you're prepping and you're sharpening your axe, right? You're getting in shape. You're doing all things to make sure that you can handle the endurance aspect of it. And then you're prepping during the start of the season, through the regular season. You're dealing with the ups and downs of the season, injuries, and when it gets long and short, and you're playing well and you're not playing well, what are you going to do to fine tune your game? And then you're building to be ready when the playoffs start. And you got to get through 4 rounds. Playoffs to get there. And then when you get there, you got now the toughest dogfight you've ever faced, because they know you as well as you know you. And it's not now it's no longer about the play. It's about being unstoppable. It's the commitment.
Welcome back. We're here in Phoenix, Arizona. I got the one and only one take Danny Schayes.
There you go.
The man, the myth, the legend, and we made it here. Thank you for helping us get the bus. I was driving today. Not the best driver. You helped a lot.
Absolutely.
I don't think I could have made it without you.
Where would guards be without bigs setting screens, opening up in transition, right? I mean, it's just a natural thing.
You know how us guards feel about you big guys. Just get the rebound. We got to tell you what to do. I feel like you were kind of an atypical big guy. Like you were trying to be a guard.
We run the show. We make guards successful.
I already hate this interview.
Okay,
I hate everything about this.
Guards successful.
I wish I wasn't.
Because look, without us, you'd have, you know how hard it is to break a guy down versus just come off a screen?
Oh, I love it.
Transition, nice drag screen and transition. Boom, now your world just opens up.
It's true.
Right?
Okay, I'll give you that. Okay. I do like that. But now when you set a screen, because I feel like guys are doing it differently these days, just random thought, would you roll open off the shoulder that he would come off, or do you turn the other way?
No, nose to the ball.
So immediately, if you're rubbing off this side, you're turning this way.
And never lose sight of the ball, right? So when I set a screen, you're coming off. Well, they're
going like this, and then they're going this way.
Two reasons. One is they don't know how to execute a screen, and the other is they may be looking for lobs. I don't know where they're trying to shortcut it, but the only every once in a while you can slip it that way, but to actually you crack a guy, as soon as you turn the other way, the guy ties you up. If he's a good defender, he's just going to wrap you up. And there's no roll. 2 words: goat cheese. How do you feel about it? Love it. Huge fan. I'm a no dairy. I just remember Danny loves goat cheese. I remember our conversation. I'm a no dairy guy. Yeah. Now you should see me at a pizza place. The only good kind of cheese, right, is goat cheese. Sheep cheese. Don't underestimate the value of sheep cheese. Both of them. I've very much underestimated the value of sheep cheese. Maybe my whole life. Harder to get. Okay. A good high quality pizza place will have goat cheese. Because I'm a no dairy guy, so the mozzarella's out. Yep. And there's nothing like going to a pizza place and ordering pizza with no cheese. Yeah. They look at you like, what are you here for? Yeah. And then it's like a sandwich. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So you're confusing people over there. Okay, so we'll come back to the goat cheese. It just popped in my head. We got to talk about it. So we haven't talked in a few weeks. I haven't talked. This sounds bad. I haven't talked to my family. Did you see my family in Ketchikan, Alaska, or did you guys not see each other? What happened? So we went up there, called your dad. Okay, we talked Bob on the phone. Mamba. Big Bob. Shout out to Bob Mamba. We love the Mamba man. And so we had a back and forth. Okay. We did schedule a flying tour of the Misty Fjords. Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah, not through him, but through the service. Okay. Yes. Because he had said that he thought he would be in another location where we wouldn't cross. Oh, my dad was going to be out of town. He was going to be out of town. Okay. So good news, bad news. Yep. We had a Chamber of Commerce day. Okay. Blue skies. I got pictures for you. I told you the weather's everything. Perfect blue skies. Yes. Landed on the Crystal Lake. Yes. Had a nice walk around. Okay. Perfect day. Mr. And did you take the boat back in, or was it? No, it was playing both ways. And did you go to Misty Fjords? Misty Fjords. Oh, you did. Okay. Yeah. I was up there like a week or two before you. I went out there. Me and Jennifer. We went. We did a boat out, and we were supposed to take a plane back.
but we ended up not getting on the plane for reasons I won't mention, and we took the boat back. So it was pretty. We saw some whales.
You talk about weather being key.
Yes.
So we were on the cruise ship, right, and we went this way up to Ketchikan. Another guy went that way and down.
Okay.
We crossed in Juneau.
Okay, the midway point.
Yeah, and we were doing a thing there. We were gabbing. He says, "Oh, we just came from Ketchikan. 6 inches of rain. We couldn't get off the boat."
Well, you know what happens is
everything was canceled. Missed his bear tour.
I feel so bad.
And they couldn't get off the boat.
You see it happen all the time because it rains so much. So people will like wait their whole lives and they're so excited to go on this Alaska trip. And we get 13 feet of rain. Like my dad, Bob Mambo, who you know now, will tell you, that's 2 of me. And so he tells every single person. We took him to Whole Foods out here. He was telling people, it rains 2 of me in Ketchikan, Alaska. We're like, they didn't ask. Why are you telling them this? You know.
And that score is equal to a foot of snow per inch. So you're talking about
a lot of rain.
Ton.
So these people come out and they have these clear ponchos, and you can tell they're just miserable, and I feel bad because they've spent a bunch of money
and they've
waited their whole life.
It takes a lot to rain those guys out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because they know. Look, if we stop for every kind of rain, we go broke.
Yes.
First of all, so they just wrap them in cellophane, send them out.
Here, put some Saran wrap around.
There you go. Take an umbrella. But we had just Chamber of Commerce Day. It was magnificent.
Okay. So I love to hear that. We have a funny how we met. You worked with a girl who was my neighbor and my friend on the little island, Pennock Island, that I talk about all the time.
Yeah.
And she's like, hit me up one day. She's like, you got to meet Danny. You guys are going to become instant best friends. And I'm like, Danny who? And then she told me who you were, and I'm like, yeah, we got to meet him. And then we've been boys ever since.
So Jenny's folks were there.
So they made time for you.
After the tour.
Okay.
Well, yeah, they weren't out of town.
Yeah.
So after the tour,
the Rosendens.
Really funny.
The good old
went
Rosendens.
over to the Rosendens' house for lunch.
Yep.
And we set up the old iChat from their kitchen, and Jenny was all homesick.
So you were FaceTiming her from their house.
Yeah, I FaceTimed her from their house. And here I am with mom and dad.
Yeah, hey.
In the kitchen, right, having fish.
They're so sweet.
We had the best time, yeah.
Their dad, I'm blanking on his name right now, but Dave, yes, he is like the local lawyer for the public defender.
Yeah.
And then the son Stevie, who is my age, he's gone on and done really well in school and is starting his own practice. And I think he's a little bit more wants to do the big cases,
right?
And is engaged now and everything. But so funny and so cool. They have such a cool location on the end of the island. They're a little bit opened up to like crazy winds and swells that come in.
But right across from the boat docks.
Pretty handy.
So we literally they were going, wait, that's our ship over there. Okay. Yeah. And the funny part was though, we obviously live in civilization here.
Yeah.
Right. So you turn the faucet, water comes out.
Nope,
right?
Not over there.
And we're like, where do you get the water from? Just because they're on an island, and they go, well, we have cisterns.
Yeah.
And it rains.
We got a water tank.
Really?
Yeah. That's
and then when you flush it, where does it go?
Yeah. Into the ocean.
Into the drink.
Don't talk about that. Yeah, that's really what happens out there. It all just goes.
And they build their own houses, and I mean, it's like very cool. Now the dog sledding thing we did.
Oh, did you do it in
Juneau?
On the glacier.
On the glacier.
Mendenhall Glacier, I think.
Now you talk about people who are rugged. They're literally tents on a glacier with a portalet for like 12 weeks.
Who's doing that?
With the mushers.
When they're actually doing the Iditarod Trail?
They do the Iditarod Trail with it, and they got 200 dog sled dogs.
Jeez.
That they care for 24/7.
Yeah.
That bark all the time, drive you crazy.
And they don't sleep.
They're literally
the guy who wins
during
it is
the race,
basically almost passed out.
Tied his hands to the thing.
Yeah.
And incredible. Totally off the grid.
Yeah.
And then when it warms up, they move up like another 1,000 feet higher where there's still snow.
Yeah.
And then they do that like 3 times all summer.
Isn't that crazy?
And it's like, wow, these guys really like their dogs. And like one gal has 30 dogs. And
yeah. And they put those dogs through.
And these dogs, not to get too far off track,
No.
They would tell us they run 100 miles a day in below zero.
Yeah.
We were up there, it was 50, and they said the dogs are overheating.
Yeah, it's too hot. We need to get them some ice. Put them on some ice. Put them in ice.
So they sleep in the snow.
Isn't that great? They're built for it. They're just made for that.
But if you don't run them all day long, they're crazy.
Yeah, they go stir crazy.
I gotta run.
They're chomping at the bit. It's incredible. I did what's the guy's name? I can't remember what's his name today. Baker. I did a speaking engagement with one of the guys who won the whole thing. He's won it twice.
Yeah.
He's very respected.
That's a real man.
In that whole world. Yeah. And the story that he told about how these dogs, they train them to be obedient, where he can make like this little whistle and they rise up. It was an amazing illustration he had, but gosh, I could never do it. I'm like, you guys are way tougher than me. Like I used to think I was tough, like playing sports, going up on the island, going back and forth. But it's like you get out of that and you're like, I don't know how I did that anymore. I've got soft and like lost all the toughness, man. But
I wouldn't mind so much. I get it. if there was like this big pot of gold at the end.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's the part that I'm like,
it's not like the Olympics where you're getting endorsements, deals, and recognition.
Now you're a sensation, nationwide sensation for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of threw me a little bit. But
speaking of, we were talking about your wonderful wife, and we can talk about her story as well. Do you know Michaela Maroney, the gymnast? Because we were talking about gymnasts.
I don't know her.
She was in the Olympics and did pretty well. Just random thought too, because she might be someone good to connect with. We're going to do her on the show pretty soon. But dude, so, okay, I want to tell a little bit about your story. Logan, we're going to see him tomorrow.
Yep.
So your son is how tall now? You said he's
6'4". Going to go into his freshman year.
Yeah.
And he's just a big puppy dog and plays basketball and baseball full time here, which is nice. You can play 12 months for both.
Yeah.
And he's just figuring it out. You know, I mean, he's just starting.
Are we leaning towards one more than the other at this point?
Right now, he's in basketball Jones mode.
Okay. My nephew's too.
And but he's because baseball season's a long way away, to next where they play in the spring. But he's actually got a thing in California next weekend where it's a little showcase that he's going to go out and
for baseball.
Oh,
okay. Oh, so he's mixing it up.
So he's mixing it up, and the good news, the high school he's going to really courts two sport athletes. Which in today's age is way different than when we were. Well, I'll say when I was kids before you were born. Where it was the norm to have you play multi sports. Football ended, and then basketball started on the Monday. Then basketball ended, then baseball, where we were in lacrosse in the Northeast, started. And it was normal for that athlete kid to play 2, 3, 4 sports. And
isn't that crazy?
Now they're like, they discourage you from 10 years old.
At 4th grade or a 4-year-old, you need to hit the golf ball. Like,
I mean, they want you playing every day. If it's basketball, they want you playing club 12 months and forget the other stuff. We're like, dude, that ain't gonna happen.
Well, I'm almost glad Logan's not here because I'm a little nervous to go around this guy now that he's 6'4". He's gonna be towering. He was already towering over me before, but now he's like a super towering over me.
210.
I told him I want him one-on-one though. I want him one-on-one so you can let him know.
I'm teaching him the forearm shiver.
Oh, you got him a little, he's laying people out on screens.
I told him, you can go by me, but you're going to take that with you.
It's going to hurt.
You're
not going to want to come by me again.
So he's working on his step. He's working on his step over here, no question.
He's keeping it old school.
Well, I'm an old school. I'm the ambassador of old school.
Yes, I remember this, yes.
Because I'm beyond old school is cool. I think that we've gotten away from what's effective. And everything has become so specialized to the point where I think the game, as I say, the game is suffering. It's the most popular it's ever been, right? But I see kind of elements of it that are becoming so like
Stockton and Malone,
uninteresting.
Baby. I want the pick and roll. I want to see.
Right. And what's happening is I think the game's becoming harder to play because the options of what you can do have like narrowed. So now it's easier to guard guys because they're running the 3-point line and they're
that's the one thing you do.
And that's one thing, right?
You penetrate. You
and every big guy is a rim protector. Nobody can score inside. And I'm not even talking about everyone says the centers are worthless today. I go crazy. I'm not talking about put a guy in the post, the old Patrick Ewing, Kareem, inside out, throw it in, kick it out. Although that would still really be effective for shooters. Because if you have an effective guy in the post where you've got to come and help, it's way easier.
Elijah one.
As you know, it's easier to catch and shoot. Exactly.
I know. I remember you D'ing him up.
I thought he doesn't jump nearly as well with me standing on his feet.
Because you're leaning.
I'm standing. I'm telling you.
Stand on both of his feet.
Exactly. Go ahead, big fella. Let's see what you got.
Now.
Let's see what hops you got now.
Old school.
But it's way easier to catch and shoot when you're facing the rim versus in a transition where you're catching behind you and then turn the square up, right? There's so many ways where inside out works, but without nailing the guy there. Flash post, get in, get out. Move the ball, move the people. You still got to move the ball, move the people. That's the key. Which Golden State has proven without a doubt. And
fun to watch, man.
But what's funny is that now because it's become so specialized, everyone's the 7'1" guys are 3-point shooters. That it's become opened up such an opportunity. If a guy's good in the post, because you can't tell me, because nobody has told me that they'd sure love a post scorer if they had one, but they don't. I'd love a big center who can score if I had one, but I don't. No one's told me I don't want one. They just don't have any. Right? So they don't have one because they don't have any. There's no chicken, so there's no eggs. Right? So, so I'm, when I work with my son and the kids that I coach, I'm like, look, let's add that to your game without taking away that part of the game, right? You have to handle the ball today, no matter who you are. You have to shoot it no matter who you are. There's no spot for a guy who can't shoot outside of that DeAndre Jordan role. And if you can't shoot, you can't play, right? But if you can get inside, then it opens up so much that's
It's a different game. Isn't it crazy how much the same game could change so much?
Yeah.
Now you're kind of friendly and buddy with Adam Silver, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The commissioner. I need that introduction.
Sure.
I got a few suggestions for him for what they should be doing out there.
We
can talk about that later. I need to talk to that guy. He's going to want to hear from me.
Well, Adam and I go back to negotiating the collective bargaining agreement in '98, the first NBA lockout.
Oh, wow.
I was the lead negotiator for the players union on the player side.
Oh, wow.
And Adam, of course, was the behind the scenes force from the NBA side.
Yeah.
So that's where we really got to connect. Figuring that whole thing out and ending the lockout and bringing basketball back for that half a year. And we've just maintained a great relationship.
I feel like knowing what I know about you now, that almost might have, because you had your investments and things you were doing business-wise at that time, but did seeing that and having that experience of like the business behind basketball kind of open your eyes to, this is something that I'm intrigued by, I see it as a challenge, and I want to learn how to win at this after basketball or during the later parts of your career?
Absolutely. It opened up a couple things. One is that I have a good knack for it.
Yes.
But I didn't have the education for it.
Okay.
So I had to fill in some of the blanks on learning stuff, mostly on my own. I didn't go back to school till recently I'm doing in a Master's of Entrepreneurship program.
Which is amazing.
Now.
Yeah.
And then we'll see after that. But the important thing is I started to see the game in a much different way, to understand the business side of it and how to make it something that was very inclusive, because very few players make the transition for a variety of reasons, which we can talk about. But but the biggest thing is that the ability to now understand the game from the other side. What are the sponsors looking for? What are the teams looking for how's the revenue generated? The old school guys bristle at all the commercialism in the arena. There's is there any limit to it? Anything that moves has a logo on it.
Yes.
Even if it doesn't move, it has a logo on it. There's the Coca-Cola Toyota halftime show sponsored by Nissan. You're like, what?
Yeah.
And then they got the steal of the day, the grab of the day, whatever your motto is. The hamburger of the day.
Yeah.
And at some point, enough already. I did my first game at Cameron Indoor. I do radio for Syracuse still.
Yes.
And it's an old building with a sign, and that's it.
Simple. And there's something quaint and beautiful about that.
But the flip side is I do understand the sponsorship side, but
gotta get the money.
But now, which had led to the job we talked about earlier, where I met your friend Jenny, doing actually sports economics projects, understanding the economics of it. And what you realize is that so much of it is done that way because it's done that way. Not that there's a reason that it's done that way. It's just the way it's always been done.
Yes.
And and so when you bring kind of science and analytics and some of these advanced concepts into it, you realize there's a way better way to do it. In many areas. On the flip side is there's a lot of resistance to doing it because that's how it's done, and people got hired to do it that way. And if they change, then there's the risk of, if it doesn't work, I'm out of a job, and if it works, I'm out of a job because we should have been doing.
We should have done this all along. So it's a catch-22. You're like, let's just stick with what
But if I don't change anything, my job's secure.
Yeah.
So there's
people are afraid to do that.
Little things like jump up like that, and you go, okay, I get it, but I don't get it. But it's really intriguing to be on the other side and say, how can I create real value for sponsors?
Yes.
If I stick a logo on the backboard, does that really create value, or is it just a logo on the backboard? I get you see it, but do I sell more Fords? How do you measure that? How do you know? Is that real value?
It's such a.
Am I better off being on the dancing girls' skirts? Am I better off being a commercial,
texting thing or something?
Right.
Contest.
And so how do you?
Check donated.
Now that you start looking at that as a science, it opens up the whole, kind of the whole game in a new way. And as you see the growth of the NBA and how they've gone worldwide, and how they've connected to the fans, and the projects they're working on now to connect to the fans on a whole new level. You can understand why the franchises went from, my fourth year in the league, the Nuggets sold for $30 million, the highest price ever paid for a pro franchise. 85 maybe. They sold them 4 years later for $60 million. Everyone thought the guy was crazy. For buying it for 60. Now you can't buy an NBA team for $1 billion. Right? And but it went through, but 10 years ago you could have bought 15 teams for $200 million.
Isn't that crazy?
Any of 15 teams.
What were we doing? Why were we not buying teams?
Why were we buying them? Buy low, sell high, right?
Yeah, we should have done it.
And the problem was my $200 million was just tied up somewhere else. I guess.
I don't know where I put it.
I think it was in Fantasyland.
I think you had it in windmills.
I think it was in Fantasyland. So that's the biggest thing. So that's it's really cool to now understand the game on that level.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's funny now that I kind of put that together. I'm like, that makes sense that you would be intrigued by that, and then it led you to where you are now. Not to make this about Logan, but I feel like he got to do something really cool, and he got to be the what was it? The interviewer for Sports Illustrated
Kids. He was a reporter for Sports Illustrated for Kids, kid reporter.
And he got to go and talk to LeBron and CP3 and all these cool people, and it's on YouTube. We'll link it up so people can go and see this. But I remember he had he got to meet someone who we've both got to meet, Apollo.
Right.
Ono.
Yep.
And I remember he gave him some good advice, but I don't want to butcher it. So
no,
you guys were at some place at the Olympics.
So my wife is an Olympian.
Yes.
We'll talk about that a little bit also.
Yes.
Springboard diver in Seoul, Korea in '88. And so we go back and we go to the the Olympic trials and things, and we ended up going 2012 to London for the games. And we were in Olympic House, which is where it's kind of reception house for all the former Olympians in town to come and eat and rest and meet sponsors and set up meetings and all that.
Fun place to be.
Fun place to be. So we were there for opening ceremonies, watching it with a bunch of other former people who didn't want to drag us all the way to Olympic Stadium and fight that brain damage. And Apollo Ono was there, and Sarah Hughes was there, and they were the Winter Olympians doing TV gigs for the summer networks.
Okay, commentating
or sponsor tour, whatever they were brought in to do, or both.
Yep.
And so we were big fans of Apollo from the Olympics, and so my then 10-year-old. We brought him over to meet him, and he didn't know what to say at the beginning. So I said, well, ask him a life question. Ask him what was the best advice that he uses every day.
Okay.
So he goes over and he asks him, and Apollo Ono tells him that hard work is a myth. That consistent effort, consistent hard work is the key. You have to do something every day and let small steps lead to big improvements. And that's the key. You have to take a small step forward every day and just let that accumulate. That's how you achieve success. Now, I told him that 50 times. And my wife told him that 50 times.
Yeah.
But Apollo Ono says it once. Yeah. Oh my God!
Earth-shattering,
you wouldn't believe
head
what Apollo
exploding.
Ono just told me. And he could tell you.
I told you that 10 minutes ago.
He could tell you that conversation verbatim.
Yeah. Isn't that
now,
funny?
5 years later, and that was the impact that somebody not your parents had on him. So that kind of led to a brainstorm, and I thought, well, why don't you interview other people about that? I ended up contacting SI Kids. That turns out that the editor at the time went to Syracuse, where I went to college. We had this great conversation, and they were hiring they don't pay them, but they were assigning reporters for the year, and so Logan got one of those spots, and so he spent the year doing major interviews with the
biggest people. Some him and LeBron. LeBron's dapping him
got
up.
all-star credentials. We interviewed all the all-stars. We interviewed Mark Cuban on the set of the Shark Tank. Barry Zito here for spring training, the star pitcher for the Cy Young pitcher for the Giants at the time. We ended up, Charles Barkley on the TNT.
Yeah, I was giving him a hard
all-star.
time.
We did a full thing there, and he just had a great time. There was a diving reality show called Splash. He interviewed Greg Louganis, the
big names.
Obviously the
huge,
greatest in the era, and David Budaya, the then gold medalist.
And he was how old at the time?
He was 10, 11.
Yeah, what a cool
that year. So he had this, and you would always ask some kid questions, but some life questions, like who's your best mentor, and what was like a turning point in your life, or when did you know that this was your thing, or like some of those kind of questions that other kids in that age group would
benefit
be
from.
impacted by, and
it's so funny. And you're over there like, I told you that, I told you this, I told you. You're like, gosh, dang. If anything, at least it's validating the things that you were saying.
Right.
But it's something that we talk about in our little team of it's the same message, but it's just a different messenger.
Right.
So like for me, when I go and I speak into these things, and you'll see tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm saying the same thing that you told your kid, or a parent, or a teacher, or a coach, or a mentor, or a brother. But it's like, for some reason I'm going to listen to this guy, and somehow it's connected with me. And I've been guilty of the same thing. Like, heard it from my mom, and then someone else said it. I'm like, for some reason it just clicked for me.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, that's the same thing my mom's been saying. And you're like, what the heck? But so you've had all these cool things go on. You've had a book. That's done well. I watched your segment on ESPN. I remember watching that.
Yep.
You've had this amazing basketball career in the NBA. You've and then had a business career outside of it, and done all these investments and amazing things. I kind of want to hear the journey. And I'm curious to hear about your influence with your dad being in your life, because for those of you who don't know, your dad is kind of known as one of the greatest. Isn't he known as like the greatest Jewish
NBA player ever?
Yeah, like that's kind of like
that's one of his things, but really was one of the true pioneers. I mean, he has every major record of the time. He was the NBA's all-time leading scorer in his era. Played 12 All-Star games, which had not been done. 16 years, which had not been done. First one to 1,000 games. First one went to 15,000 points.
Yeah.
Scored the first basket in All-Star history, which actually,
that's amazing.
You'll appreciate this story. For his 80th birthday, we did a big party. The NBA sent us a highlight reel. And back in the old days, Converse used to put out these like movie trailers, and they would play them inside movie houses, like the previews. And they would have these Converse reels, as they were called.
I love it.
And Marty Glickman, the longtime great announcer, you've heard his voice a million times in every old thing. Syracuse guy, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. And,
King of media.
So here we are at the first All-Star game in Boston Garden, 1951. Here's the tip, Cousy to Schayes, he scores. And we all went, was that the first basket in All-Star history? Run that back.
Yeah.
Nobody,
and assist was Bob Cousy.
Bob Cousy. Nobody knew. The league didn't know.
That's amazing.
So we run it back, and we're like, that's the first basket in All-Star history.
Do you remember the shot? Was it like a layup? Was it
yeah, it was like a tip, throw up, layup thing.
Okay.
I told my dad about it. He goes, really? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, let's watch. There's
we have a video of it. I actually have it in real time.
I called the NBA. They go, really?
Mark it down. Yeah, how do they not know?
So the cool part was the next year All-Star was in LA, 2011. It was the 60th anniversary of the first All-Star game.
Yeah.
NBA did a big thing during one of the timeouts, and they showed the clip and
went
on Dolph, standing ovation. It was a cool deal.
That's so
But
cool.
it was just one of those things that just
nobody
noticed, and it just just noticed.
And
in
then he
the video.
forgets about it because he's doing all these other things. So when you were growing up, was it basketball early on, or were you into other things?
Well, good news, bad news again.
Okay.
I had an older brother who had all the pressure of being Dolph's kid.
Okay.
So he took all that. I'm the baby of the family.
Are you going to be a great player like your dad and all that stuff? And you're just like, here's Goofy Danny. Like, do whatever you want.
My brother got all those questions, and I was just the little brother, even though I was bigger than him most of the time.
And how much older was he?
2.5 years.
Okay, so close.
So we went to junior, like senior freshman, like that.
Yep.
So growing up, he played. Well, he wasn't a natural athlete at it. Was ended up being a good player. I just kind of went in the shadow of it and developed. My dad owned the second basketball camp in America. So that's another interesting thing. He and Bob Cousy started camps in the early 50s.
Ever basketball camp
in America. Yeah.
He is a pioneer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I grew up learning basketball from all these incredible coaches. All the counselors were high school coaches, high school varsity or above, college coaches. Every week he'd bring in a pro to come speak, and Pistol Pete would come, and some of these other guys, JoJo White from the Celtics, and different players.
You got to learn from Pistol Pete.
Yeah. Played against him when I was little,
Mirovich.
And
the pistol, man.
So, being around that, I just got such an incredible exposure to the game. 1970, when I was 10, 11 years old, he was the first head coach of the Buffalo Braves NBA team. So I got to be a ball boy. And I was a ball boy. I was a bench player bench ball boy for, Kareem was young. Again, Pistol played. Everybody in the league. And I was on the visitors bench. So I got to see every player and work and do the visitors locker room. And incredible experience.
How amazing was getting to watch Pistol Pete?
Well, not only as a player, but he was such a charismatic guy.
Yeah.
And back then, in the old days, showmanship was a rare thing.
Yeah. And he's doing it at the highest level.
And he had such a flair as a player, but also as a person. He was so connecting to people. After the games, he'd come out, and there'd be 200-300 kids waiting for autographs, and he'd leave the bus. So you guys just go back to the hotel. He'd sit there, sign autographs for an hour, take a cab back to the hotel. It was none of this set up the cordon of security guys. I mean, he was out. He'd
get the
come
cameras out.
He was out. He'd make sure he got every kid. He'd stay there as long as he had to. And so that team is now the Clippers. They moved to San Diego and then LA. So that was my first kind of NBA experience. My dad retired when I was 4, so I don't remember him as a player in Philadelphia. With the Sixers, but the team was in Syracuse originally, and then when the leagues merged in '49, they moved a lot of the small teams moved to the bigger cities. So the Philadelphia Warriors and the Minneapolis Lakers moved out to California, became LA, and then San Francisco, now Golden State, and then Syracuse filled Philadelphia, became the 76ers. So like one of the big kind of the ironies is when you see Wilt with his PHILA jersey with his 100, that was the Warriors. That wasn't the 76ers.
Isn't that funny?
And so that's why his number's retired by the Warriors.
Oh.
Because when they were in Philadelphia, he played for them. So the team moved out, he played there, then they got traded back to the 76ers, and everything in the future said PHILA. They had the same kind of look, but only the colors were different. Because they were red, white, and blue instead of the gold and whatever they had. So a little old-time trivia. So I grew up in that influence. In '73, my dad was inducted in the Hall of Fame, so we were there for all that.
But you never really felt the pressure. It was your brother.
Never felt the pressure, but part of it was two things. One is there was no NBA team in Syracuse. There wasn't that constant thing, right?
And so you were just playing because you loved it.
I was just playing because I loved it. No ESPN.
Yeah.
You know, so you didn't have that. There was a game of the week.
We're getting recruited at
I mean, so I had the experience of going to an NBA preseason game in Buffalo. Knicks and probably, I don't know who they were playing at the time. It was before, it might have been Cleveland. And I rode with my dad and Danny Schayes, who was the creator of the 24-second clock, who owned my dad's team. So 2 hours in the car talking about like the history of the 20, and I'm named after him, by the way. So
oh really?
Yeah. Okay. So and I wore 24 for a lot of my career.
Okay.
In honor of Danny and the clock.
That's so funny.
So here I am in the car with the creator of the 24-second clock talking about the history and how it came up and how it saved the game and the difference it made.
Yeah.
You know, and,
exciting.
You know, so I had that exposure to the league. You know, from from the, I mean, touching the founding in the 40s. You know, and so for me it was just an awesome experience and one that you could never replicate today.
Yeah. So at what point did you? Well, okay, this is like a thing that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a career out of this. Was there a certain point where it was it high school? Was it college?
Here's the irony for you. So when I was in high school, I was a mildly recruited player. You know, I was tall and skinny and you know, but it wasn't again. Today, every kid, under a rock in Sudan is known.
We got a kid in Alaska from Barrow, which is literally the most top of the state. You definitely didn't go there on your cruise, and they have like nothing there. It's dark all the time.
Right.
It's insane. They're oh gosh, what kind of people are? I don't want to say the wrong thing, but they look like Eskimo people or whatever.
Yeah.
But Inuit? No, I don't know. Good ball players though, because they're inside all the time. But they got this kid who's I think he's like part Hawaiian. He's getting recruited. He's one of the top recruits now. A few years back, you would have never found this guy. You would have never known. But now he could be, because of the internet, because of these showcase tournaments.
Exactly.
You can find him like, that guy's great.
Yeah, and like Logan's worried about getting seen. I'm like, dude, you're in 7th grade. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, I don't want you to be the best 8th grader in the state. I could care less. I want you to take your time and develop the game right.
Yeah.
And I want you to be.
And it's going to come. It's going to come when it comes.
So my story is at the 180 degrees opposite end. I wasn't nowhere. I mean, I was in Syracuse, New York, played in a good. High school ball was everything back then.
Yeah.
There was no AAU and all that. I mean, it existed, but it wasn't powerful like it is now. So you got seen in high school, and coaches came and scouted your games, and I was recruited by Syracuse, obviously, because Jim Boeheim was a counselor at my dad's basketball camp when he was 19. So Wake Forest and Princeton, Pete Carrill, who was the world famous coach then, those were kind of the schools recruiting me, not the the Dukes and the Kentuckys and those. So I kind of committed very late. Probably I want to say May of my senior year in high school. Didn't commit till then. Had a solid, not super spectacular college career, and so middle, second, third round pick, and I went to the Aloha Classic at the time, which was the senior showcase tournament. Lit it up, and in a weekend went from maybe second, third round to second center chosen in the draft.
Wow. Second center chosen in the entire draft?
In the draft, yeah.
Because you went and killed it at this tournament. Because I went and killed it at
this tournament. And it was one of the first times I was really seen like that, against national competition, all the other centers, who I'd be competing against.
Yeah, because for that, we don't know how he'd stack up. We haven't seen him play against. He might be soft, he might be better than him, but we don't know, so we're not going to take the risk.
So, so I shared with my own son, I said, look, you're going to get discovered in a weekend.
Yeah.
They may see 1,000 times, but you're going to do one thing at one time.
Yeah, the right time, the right person.
That's the kid I want.
Yeah.
And I see what this potential is.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're looking for is potential.
Yeah.
And the other lesson I really give them, going back to old school. When you watch a kid play, right? We watched some film earlier.
You could tell
and you say 3 plays, the kid knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Okay? You could just tell by the way the person walks in the gym. Honestly, I look at them when they walk and dribble one time. Like, okay, they know what they're doing, or no, they don't.
So a quick side story is I coached the Masters team, a 35 and up team.
Okay.
All Jewish players in Israel. We had a great time. 80 guys show up, and in a typical Jewish team, I had 74 guards and 6 bigs.
Okay, that's just the ratio. You guys are an anomaly.
Okay. So we had a 2-day weekend for these tryouts, right? And I had the team picked in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Out of 80.
Yeah.
I did pick and roll, and you could see who knew how to move their feet.
Yeah.
And I did zigzag, and you could see who had been coached and who hadn't.
Yeah.
And who just played pickup ball at the gym.
Yeah, that's
and I picked the team in 15 minutes. Now I ran them through for 2 days to give them a show.
Yeah.
But that's how easy it is to see.
Yeah.
Okay, now get back to where before. So kids, when you're watching kids now, like I tell my old son, I don't want you to be on the radar at 8th grade. I could care less. I want you to learn to develop the game, because when a coach watches you play and he watches you execute a pick and roll correctly and watches you in weak side defense, attacking a driver or making a rotation or calling shot and blocking out, the basic elements that used to be just standard stuff that now is like unheard of, because that's not the style. It's again to get showcased, not to play ball.
Yes.
Okay? They're going to know within 5 minutes that you're the one they want.
Yeah, you can fit in a team,
you know
chemistry.
how to play the game.
Yes.
And you're going to have the right clay. You're going to be tall and athletic, and
you got the frame for it.
Okay,
blessed,
so now you got to mold the clay. You got to get in shape. You got to do it. But if you understand the game, then you're going to get seen. You're going to stand out like you're on fire.
Yeah.
And he had a hard time understanding that, because who's getting all the the ball kids or this showcase kid or that showcase kid. I go, that's YouTube.
Yeah, that's the sizzle.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you that when a coach watches you play, and he even sees it now.
Yeah.
Kids will come up to him who understand what they're looking at, and they'll go, "Wow, I love the way you helped on this play, or you set great picks." Or,
those little intangibles.
And those are the things that make the difference, and that's how you're going to stand out. You're not going to be go win some dunk contest or some crazy
flash
thing.
in the pan.
Yeah.
So you had a long career. It was
18 years.
18 years, and you attribute that, I feel like, from our previous conversations. Was it chiropractic?
Yeah.
In your diet, you first want to. I don't want to say you're the first person to play with having a good diet and stuff, but you caught on to that early on,
right?
And were pretty serious about.
Well, I was like everyone else in the dark. My sister actually my older sister went to chiropractic college.
Yeah.
So graduated when I was getting out of college. I didn't know what the hell a chiropractor was.
Yeah.
I'd never been to one. Never couldn't spell it. Didn't know what it was, and she had to explain it to me.
Is it subluxation?
Subluxation.
That's the word I was looking for last night. I was rolling on one of those foam rollers.
Yeah.
And I was trying to say it. I was trying to sound smart. I'm like, no, it's. I was saying some word that was
subletting my vertebrae.
Yeah. I was saying something that was not even close, and I'm like, oh, that's not it. But I'm just gonna act like it. It's like, okay.
So. And then part 2 of that is I got drafted by the Jazz, which was one of only 2 teams at the time that had a chiropractor on staff.
Yeah.
This guy Craig Bueller, who did a terrific job, was there for a very long time, and Dwight Stockton alone played, 40 years between them and missed 20 games. Combined.
Is that crazy?
I mean, I think Karl Malone missed 8 games his career, and 2 of them were suspensions from technicals.
And they were big on the chiropractic stuff. I remember that.
So
every chiropractor will tell you that when you go in there and they found out you're a basketball player, like John Stockton, everyone I've ever gone to, they try to sell me on that. I'm like, I know.
It makes all the difference.
I know,
Because think about it. You're pounding, you're grinding, you're running every day.
You gotta keep
the more
aligned.
the more tension and stress and grind you take out of your everyday motion, right?
Yeah.
And look, MDs do what they do, and when you need one, you got to have one.
Yeah.
You've got to fix something, tear it, whatever. They're the only ones that can help you. But for that day-to-day stuff, I was an Eastern medicine guy. I got then traded to Denver, and Boulder was like the mecca of alternative medicine.
Okay. So it's almost kind of lucky. All these stars are aligning.
From that
and then you write in the right place.
From that standpoint, it was fantastic.
But then you had to embrace it and be willing to.
So then Craig Bueller, the Utah guy, introduced me to one of his mentors in Boulder, and that's when I got on all the kooky stuff. All the acupuncture, the German pharmaceuticals, the Eastern stuff, the
injecting sheep cheese right into your veins.
Sheep cheese.
Yeah. Don't do that, please. Please don't do that for liability reasons.
We're kidding.
That was JK. So.
But one of the things I did was really interesting, because I got to the point where I was really well fine-tuned.
Okay.
And one of Gary's colleagues, my guy Gary Klepper, and now he's on the Western Slope in Peonia. But a little shout out, Gary.
Yeah,
right?
Gary.
Gary, you put 5 years of my life.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and taking 5 years off of mine. So
I can't tell you that there's probably been 6 guys I played with who said I wish I had listened.
So you were preaching it. You
came in after me, retired before me. Necks and backs and things that if I had just listened.
Yeah.
But it was just too far out there for him.
Yeah. Oh, especially back then. I mean, now it's still.
Well, I'd show up. Well, now, okay, you watched the Olympics this summer. You saw all the swimmers.
Yeah.
And they'd have those little cupping marks on, like these bruised, look like big hickeys.
Yeah. I had that on my back. I looked like an alien got me or something.
I was doing that stuff in 85, 86, 87.
Pioneer.
And I'd show up to practice and there'd be like bruise marks all over, these lines up and down my back, and
he has an abusive relationship.
And I had my knee would be swollen up because he injected some B12 directly into it, and it caused the thing to break up. And meanwhile I'm killing it.
Yeah.
And
I think you're a junkie, but you're playing great.
And I made up a great story on what actually happened.
Oh, you would mess with them.
Oh, you think I said, I was at the acupuncturist who did a cupping exercise?
Yeah.
And
do you remember these stories?
Oh.
There was a street brawl, right? And this woman was getting attacked.
I'm coming out of the grocery store, and there's this...
Yeah.
And it was also before I was married, so you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. You saved a lot of ladies' lives. Yeah.
You know, so...
Damsel in distress.
Exactly. And
I like this guy's style.
So then you get into the nutrition stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And inflammation is, as you know, is an enemy of athletes.
Yeah.
You know, tendonitis. You know, ankles, plantar fascia tissue. You know, all that stuff. That inflammation stuff.
Cause
right.
All the problems.
And so I actually changed my diet up, and so I had a DNA analysis done, and the idea was to align your nutrition with the foods that are native to your country of genetic origin. And the theory is that those are the foods that you evolved with, and the ones that support your body the best.
Yeah.
Okay, so I ended up getting this 20-page report on all the stuff I could eat and not eat based on my, genetic history,
background.
And it was one of those that you wouldn't notice it if you were a guy who sits in a chair all day.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's
we're talking about detail.
We're talking about like the last 4%, 5%, right?
Yeah.
But I changed a bunch of things. Like there was some fish I could eat and some I shouldn't. Like some meats I could eat and some I shouldn't.
Oh, that's crazy.
Like bison is big out west, So like that's eating a buffalo burger or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I started doing all that. Like I was really into it back then.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I noticed, man, second half of the fourth quarter, I got gas in the tank.
Yeah.
Like I noticed it.
Yeah.
Even at 5,000 feet. I mean, I'm going.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, and guys are in the ice bath after. I'm like, shower, I'm off.
Yeah, I'm good.
Nothing hurts, nothing sore. I'm like, but you had to be all the way to 95%. To notice the difference,
the difference.
It wouldn't help you a bit if you're eating crappy anyway.
Yeah.
But that's how into it I was back then.
Yeah.
And now fast forward 15 years, I'm in 18th year playing for Orlando with Chuck Daly, the great Chuck Daly, and we're getting near the end of the year. He goes, "How come my 40-year-old's the only guy playing 82 games?"
Yeah. You're like, well, I got the secret sauce.
And now, players are, they got the acupuncturist, the massage guy, the nutritionist, they got the team.
Yeah, keeping them right.
But, that's it. Old school is cool. I mean, I was,
You're the ambassador of old school. It doesn't get any cooler than this. So one thing that I love, I like using sports as like, basically a tool and an illustration for life.
Yeah.
What you can take away from it to benefit and be successful, help people feel fulfilled. And I just feel like there's so many in the game of basketball, and then it tells you how someone is going to be in life, whether it's being the teammate, hustling after the play, not blaming the ref, all those little things. Are there any things like that for you? Do you ever have perspective, or maybe you even impart to Logan? It's like this, when you're playing the game. Do you have any takeaways from sports in particular?
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to just be basketball.
Absolutely.
I got a lot of baseball too, but
I think for me the biggest key were, because you hear a lot of the sports analogies, right?
Yeah.
As you mentioned some of them, teamwork, and hustle, and all that kind of thing.
Hard work. Consistent
hard work.
Consistently hard work.
I think the number one thing that I took out of it, or that made the difference for me, was understanding what unstoppable commitment is. Okay, there's no...
Not just commitment,
just being unstoppable. Like, I'm not going to say no to that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm tired today. Tough. Get up and do it.
Yeah.
Hurts. I'm playing. I'm going to learn. I'm going to take the extra step. I'm not going to allow something to stop me. Really being unstoppable. And as a competitor, you don't win the NBA championship in June. You win the NBA championship in August and September and October.
Yeah.
And when you're prepping and you're sharpening your axe, right? You're getting in shape. You're doing all things to make sure that you can handle the endurance aspect of it. And then you're prepping during the start of the season, through the regular season. You're dealing with the ups and downs of the season, injuries, and when it gets long and short, and you're playing well and you're not playing well, what are you going to do to fine tune your game? And then you're building to be ready when the playoffs start, and you got to get through 4 rounds. Playoffs to get there. And then when you get there, you got now the toughest dogfight you've ever faced, because they know you as well as you know you, and it's not now it's no longer about the play. It's about being unstoppable. It's the commitment that I'm not going to lay down to anything. And how many games the game is lost, but the guy kept fighting and he pulled it out at the end, right? 1,000 of those, right? Or the guy was counted out. and he, got out of the rotation, but he kept himself ready, and then something happened, he got his chance, and bam, he's right, he's back there, or stepped up and made the difference, because he was ready. It's not like, oh, the guy got down, okay, coach, give me 2 weeks to get in shape.
Yeah.
Right? No, you got to be ready to step
I'm ready right now.
And that work is not done in the finals. That work is done getting ready and prepping and doing all that. And so to me, it's just being, just the commitment to be unstoppable. And I'm not saying you're going to win every game.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about, winning every game. But it's being, it's playing through the final buzzer. I mean, I know, and you've seen the other thing. Guy hits a shot with 4 seconds. Damn, the guy throws the ball down, the clock runs out. You're like, well, you had 4 seconds left.
You could have maybe done something.
You could have made a play, right? Or there's always those things that if you don't commit to really being great at it, it's, playing sports, being great at anything, right? You can be good just by being talented and showing up.
Yeah.
Right. Unfulfilled talent.
Yeah.
Right. As you know.
Yeah.
Unfulfilled potential is like the biggest story in the
all
history
over
of the
place.
world.
Right.
Right.
I was this good. Could have done that.
If only.
Yeah. You didn't take action. You weren't unstoppable.
You weren't unstoppable with your commitment.
Yeah.
And so to be able to take responsibility for that. You talk about the other one, not blame the refs, not blame, right? That's part of that.
Yeah.
That's being responsible.
100% ownership, 100% responsibility.
And so that's all part of that on being unstoppable. What does it mean? It's 24/7.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're working 24 hours a day, but you're not, but sometimes actively sleeping.
Yeah.
People don't realize that the training is only part. The resting is really underestimated. Just the value you build when you recover, not when you do the work.
You're tearing it down. Now you need to build
it back up. And so, actively resting, powerfully resting. That's not playing video games till I go to bed. So when I lie down at night, my brain's going, I'm not resting.
Yeah.
It's understanding where that priority is. And it's look, I'm going into this store and I'm going to grab something off the shelf. I can grab the peanut butter and jelly, or I can grab something that's
the sugar can here, which is probably everything else at the store,
right? Or buy something that's going to work for me, right? I can get this, sugar cereal, or I can get the organic, made from beans, not wheat cereal, whatever. I can throw this on the grill or that on the grill. I'm going to be eating. I'm going to be drinking. I'm going to be sleeping. Right? You can just do it in such a way that's going to support
build you up or tear you down with every decision. That's so funny. Yeah, and what I love about that is, I feel like being unstoppable in your commitment is right here. It's all the biggest obstacle you ever have to overcome is yourself. And it's if other people around you, you want to blame it on them or point the finger, but it's like at the end of the day, you're the one in control of your life. We were talking earlier with
that's exactly the point. And the beauty of this is that it also gives you the power to choose it.
Yes.
Nothing has to happen.
Yeah.
Nobody else has to do anything for you to choose to be unstoppable. Right? You're 100% in charge of that.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm going to get up early. I'm going to go do that thing. Whatever it is, it's your choice.
And that's the beauty of it. And I had that conversation with my son. Okay, I'm going to sleep in today. I know, but not every kid is sleeping in.
Yeah.
Some kids are choosing to go get a workout in this morning.
Pistol Pete, man.
That movie. Some kids are choosing to take an extra 100 shots. Some kids are they're going to run that extra mile.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you like every day, there's some ways you're getting farther behind.
Yeah.
And, so you got to understand how that works. Now, again, there's this thing in life called balance, right? You have, but again, it's what your commitment is and what you want your outcome to be. And are you willing to do what it takes to turn the wish of I want to be that to the reality of I am that? And that's, again, 100% in your control.
Yeah.
And that's the power of it.
Did you ever watch the movie The Pistol, the Pete Maravich story?
Mm-mm.
That movie changed my life, and I literally patterned my life after he was out, in the farm town and dribbling on the train tracks and spit on his finger for an hour.
Yep.
And basically my whole upbringing was the Alaskan version of that. Jenny will tell you, is dribbling up around town.
That was my brother.
Yeah.
One time he tried to spin the ball on his finger in the car all the way from Syracuse to Buffalo, 2.5 hours. He made about an hour and 40 minutes. That is the gut.
Was bleeding. Yeah. I remember Pistol Pete was bleeding. But the thing that he talked about in that movie was his dad was very hard on him.
Right.
And he's like, hey, you might be out working everyone here in our little town, but in that town over there or on the East Coast or the West Coast, someplace far away, there's someone out there who's maybe outworking you. So are you going to let that guy outwork you? So it opened up his mind, and in turn, through this movie, opened up my mind of shoot, it's bigger than Ketchikan, Alaska, and Juneau, and it's like there's a whole world out there.
You're like, I'm in Juneau, I'm in the big city.
Yeah. I'm in the capital right now, you know? Carlos Boozer's here.
And 10,000 other people.
Yeah, at least 10,000. It's crazy.
I mean, think about it. You can fit your entire city into a game.
Several cities. Or when I see these people that have, I got 50,000 on Twitter, or 100,000, or 1 million on Twitter, I'm like, that's more than our whole town, like
our
by
whole state.
A lot. Yeah, and they just say something, they can talk to everyone in the whole town. It's like, that's crazy talk. So if you were going to go back to a young Danny Schayes, and you had one piece of advice that you could give to guide your whole life, no pressure, but on the spot, what would that thing be? If you could only give yourself one thing.
I wish I had kind of learned that commitment thing earlier, because I was more in the balance thing earlier. So growing up, it was more normal to play your sport during your season. Like I played basketball and I played some lacrosse.
Okay.
So,
jeez, I would not want to see you on lacrosse.
Well, you know what the cool thing about lacrosse? Not to get too far off track. You can't hit below the waist.
Okay.
And so I'm legs up to here. Nobody can hit me.
Yeah. They're like trying to.
And the guys I'm playing, like I played attack, which is the offensive position, and the guys were the defensemen were more like the college football linebacker, or like the high school linebackers.
Yeah.
5'9" and stocky.
Stocky little strong guys. Okay.
And I'm like.
Yeah.
They're like right here, and I'm like right in their face.
Yeah.
And they can't hit me because
it's literally against
my
the
waist
rules.
is like the here on them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I didn't play basketball 12 months a year.
Okay.
I played basketball during basketball season.
Yeah.
And then I played lacrosse in the spring, which is still a running sport, which is which I did crossover. Summer I went to summer camp, so I was active physically all the time. Then fall I'd sit on my ass.
Yeah.
And get fat, and then show up to basketball camp and have to get in shape again. So I didn't understand that early. I would have loved to get probably a 5-year head start if I did.
Yeah.
Flip side is, would I have been burnt out then? I don't know the trade-off.
Yeah.
But but all in all, I ended up, a skinny kid from Syracuse, an 18 longest NBA career out of any player from Syracuse.
Wow.
Had some, good breaks and bad breaks during the career, just team-wise, getting traded at the wrong time or ended up on this team at the wrong time. But overall, and of course, every player who ever played said, God, if I was just 5 years younger.
Yeah.
So when I came in the league, the average was 250. I signed like one of the biggest contracts ever, like $1.4 million.
Yeah.
And as you know now, that's like that's minimum.
Yeah,
minimum.
Barely,
And now it's 30 a year. So.
And crazy.
Because I was there right at the beginning of free agency, and it just went like that. And right after I left, it
skyrocketed.
tripled.
They got you out of the league, and they're like, "All right, now let's start paying
some people."
This guy might have 10 more years.
But you know what? I had a great run. I mean, at the end of the day, 18 years doing that. I came out. I then had to figure out what to do at 40.
Yeah.
And now I'm entering life. For the first time. Was a strong student, but that was long ago and far away. And I figured out what to do with myself. I was a good saver, had a lot of money in the bank. But back then, in those dollars, which was, like I said, nothing like today, but, so, then I had to figure out the next chapter. And then went out, and the basis of the book that I wrote now called Fast Broke. Which is a play on Fast Break, obviously, but it's about finance. And it's really the story on why so many players struggle in retirement and why the same forces at work in their lives are at work in everyday people's lives. It's just more obvious because athletes are exaggerated versions of real life. They earn it in a short period of time. They retire for a long period of time. They have a huge disconnect between what they know about money and how much money they actually make. And so they're totally dependent on advisors, and they find out that the system is rigged for them to fail, not succeed. And that's kind of the foundation of the book, is once you understand that the system is not designed to help you, it's designed to, you make a little, they make a lot, and you start to learn how to turn that relationship around. A lot of it is that, being unstoppable, making the commitment.
Isn't that funny? It's the same thing.
And I also talk about how most sports analogies are wrong. You do not want to be the quarterback of your team. That's the guy who gets beat up. Who gets gets a little glory, but then gets thrown out.
You get this glory.
You have a bad game, they replace you. You don't want to be the GM. The GM's the guy who gets fired all the time. Every bad move, he's the one who takes the blame.
You want to be the
owner. Nobody ever talks about that. You want to be the owner of your team. You have professionals under you who know what they're doing. You oversee and you manage. You make the ultimate decisions. You create the ultimate strategy on where you want to go. You don't have to know how to do it. You have to know what you want done, and you have to know how to manage it and oversee it. So I'm not going to teach you to be a stock picker or a realtor, but I can teach you to understand how the market works and what you want out of it, and understand how to turn what you want out of it into something that's good for you, not good for them. When you turn your money over to somebody else, they do what's good for them, and as long as you get enough where you're not going to complain, they're good. Okay, and the goal is, where is that line? How much can they get? And how little can they give you where you won't complain? And that's mostly the game. I talked to you one story about realtors. Are they your advisor, or are they people trying to sell you stuff? Are they any different from the jewelry guy? Hey? Well, supposedly they're your advisor. But if I'm a kid who just signed a big contract and I can qualify for a $10 million loan, they're going to show me a $10 million house, whether it's good for me or not. Okay, I may be best with a $1 million house or smaller. Okay, but I can qualify for 10. They're on commission. Okay, so they're not your advisor. They're a guy trying to sell you crap. Because then when they trade you, you're going to come to me to resell it. Okay?
You're going to make another commission.
So you really have to understand that relationship. There's very few people in the world who get paid by you ending up with more money at the end than you started. Most of them get paid on some type of some commission, where their goal is to make you a transaction, not make you money. And once, like I said, once you kind of understand how you're the owner of the team, okay, you're not the GM, you're not the coach, you're not the player. They all work for you. You hire a GM, okay, or they oversee coaches, then you bring in players to do that work for you, right? Your players are your realtor and your stockbroker and your insurance guy, and those are your players. Okay, and they're not doing the job. You trade them, you cut them. Okay, same. That's why you got to be the owner. That's the biggest lesson I learned when I came out, because I was the typical player mentality. Okay. Where it got to the point where a lot of players think that they work for the agent. Not the other way around. And the agent has the control. Tell me what to do. Give me the advice. And it's hard mentally for the guy to realize he's got to flip that relationship where he's the owner, not the other way around.
It's a mentality switch. Oh man, it's so interesting. What helps you make that flip? Was it just a
getting my ass kicked? I mean, that had to do a lot with it. It's realizing it and doing it are kind of different things, because you're generally operating in a world you know nothing about and is really important, and it's designed to seem super complicated. When you go talk to your stock guy, he makes it so complicated you can't do it yourself. Okay, these investment strategies, they're way too look how many asset classes and how they rotate, and if you don't have all this research that only I have, and if you don't have all this knowledge that only I have,
need me,
you give me all the control. Okay, and which obviously is not the case. It is in real life, right? But it's just designed that way, because of the control issue. So that's I learned that the hard way. I learned it by making a lot of mistakes and figuring it out and trying to do the right thing. I mean, I was a great saver. I hired what I thought were top advisors. And wasn't getting very good results.
Realized that wasn't in your best interest.
And so I had to finally go, something's not working here. And so I learned entrepreneurship. Learned how to start and run my own business, and then got my ass kicked again. Then dust myself off. Let's get back in the game. And another thing you learn, right? There's so many lessons from sports, right? How to absorb a blow. What do you do when you get dunked on at the end of the game and the guy makes the big shot and he hits a 3-point? You got to come back and make the next play. Okay, you just got to make the next play.
That's something that my dad really imparted on me. We would go to Little League baseball games at Ketchikan, and we would watch these games, and you'd see the guy. Great players, but you'd see a guy who would make an error, strike out, and he'd throw his glove, throw his bat, cuss at the umpire, not hustle out, and we're like, and he was, see that guy's not a winner. He may be a great player and really talented, but he's not going to win in life because he's not learning. That's when you learn. That's where all the progress is made. When you get knocked on your butt, and now you have to bounce back and do all those things. And I feel like that's what I'm so thankful for sports, is that, because I feel like so many parents miss that. That it's not all about winning. It's not all about everything that is a lot of parents focus on. It's like, do we get the win? Are we getting success? Are we getting the attention and the exposure and being found? But it's like, hey, only a few selective people are going to go pro and make a career, and you should still aspire to that if that's what you want to do.
Sure.
But it has to be because that's where your heart is and your mindset is. You want to be unstoppable in your commitment, and you can't force that upon your kids. It has to be a decision that they make. But it bums me out when I see so many parents miss it. The overall thing for sports, it's great, it's fun. There's this long-term plan possibly for some people, but it's mostly to teach us how to be better people and how to treat each other better and all those things.
When I coach young kids, I teach them to love the game.
Yeah.
There's no pros here.
Yeah.
Okay, you speak to kids all the time.
Yeah.
When I talk at basketball camps, I always go, okay, when I try to give this lesson, it's like, how many kids here think they're going to make the NBA? Every hand goes up.
Yeah.
I'm going, okay, let's do the math.
Yeah.
There's 50 guys a year come in the NBA.
Yeah.
Okay, there's 60 draft picks, not all of them make it.
Yeah.
Okay, a few free agents get picked up. 50 a year out of 500. There's 200 right here in this room.
Yeah.
And this is one of 1,000 rooms.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's start doing the math here. Or parents come up to you, what do you think of my kid? Is he going to be 6'8"? No, then forget it.
Yeah.
Don't waste my time. I don't care how good he is. If he's 6'1", it's 1 in a million.
Yeah.
Because a million kids 6'1".
Yeah.
If he's 6'8", it's 1 in 500.
Yeah.
If he's 7 foot, it's 1 in 100.
Yeah.
Danny
Schayes, Dream Crusher. You're the reality check guy. Okay, so I got one last thing for you. And
you'll thank me.
No, you'll thank me
when
now.
you graduate college. You're at Princeton.
Yeah, you didn't waste your time on this hoop dream that was not realistic. That's something I always felt like with me. Like I was always very realistic. I knew that wasn't like my end goal, but I had teammates even in like junior college that would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the league." I was like, "You're not even like I start over you. Like what are you talking about? I'm not going anywhere close to that, But okay, so
I'm gonna blow your horn for a minute. Because I'll tell you what.
Don't do that.
I'll tell you what you did is amazing.
Okay. Yeah, you tell me. I'd like to know.
I'm gonna tell you what you did is amazing. I mean, first of all, don't sell yourself short. You're incredibly average.
Thank you. Okay. Yes. No, I do cut myself short sometimes.
You're incredibly average.
I'm so average. Thank you. I needed that.
You found a way to make a living at basketball that's not the NBA.
Yeah.
Okay? You saw the vision, you had the love, you had the dream, and you found a way.
Yeah.
You were unstoppable. And you didn't say it's NBA or bust.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to go to accounting school.
Yeah.
Okay, you found a way.
How can we tweak the dream?
Right. And how can you make it work for my circumstances and for me?
Yeah.
Okay? It was funny. I was at a bar mitzvah last year, and the mother gets up and says,
"Invite me to the next one, please." Am I allowed to come if I
sure,
get it right? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
So the mother gets up and says, bar mitzvah is a great age for a Jewish boy. It's when they usually figure out they have a better chance of owning an NBA team than playing on one. And
that's perfect.
Right? So, but you found a way. Okay,
yeah.
5, 7, 8.
Yeah, I'll take either.
Take 8.
Yeah, I'll take 8.
And but you found a way to stand out and be a beacon and change lives by the boatload.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was something that you chose to do that. World didn't offer you this.
Yeah.
World didn't come to you and say, "Hey, I got a great idea."
Yeah.
You figured it out.
Yeah.
You made it happen, and every day you do the work it takes to advance it. So I'm going to give you some big props for that.
Unstoppable commitment, man. Trying to keep up with you.
That's what it looks like.
I appreciate it. Okay? That means a lot. We've had some fun times in LA and out here now.
And I bet you got your ass kicked a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
still sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not going to end.
Yeah. But you're resilient.
But you get
learn
back
to bounce back, and you learn from that missing that ground ball, dropping that pass, missing that shot.
Okay, so Ketchikan baseball fields. Here's what people in the lower 48 don't understand.
This is pretty good. This is pretty good.
It rains 150 inches a year. Do the math. Half an inch a day times 300 days.
Yes.
Okay. There's no grass that can absorb.
2 out of 3 days.
There's no grass that can absorb that much water. The baseball fields are gravel.
Literally a fine gravel. I grew up playing on that gravel. We slid in it. We dove in it. And what you didn't see...
it's unreal to think about.
Snow on the field. Literally, in the beginning of the season, snow on the field. And you're out there and it's raining and it's blowing. And you're just like... I remember one time I came in and I was so cold. I was shivering because I was tiny, no body fat. And I was just like... I just want this to be over. I want to go home and have hot chocolate. Like, I don't want to be out here. This isn't fun for me. But sometimes those are some of the best times. Like, I remember playing soccer on those same fields, the gravel. And when it was like I don't know if we're supposed to be playing when it was lightning out, but I remember it was really just rain out there, and that was a lot of fun. Well, baseball, because you're standing around, wasn't as fun.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was tough. It made it tougher.
In Juneau, they actually had a grass field.
They finally got one.
And they got one.
Yeah.
And they go, this is where we have all the tournaments.
Yeah, we got to do them all here.
Everybody wants to see what it's like to play on grass.
Yeah.
Like out here, because of the weather,
perfect.
Sometimes you'll have dirt infields, but everything's grass in the outfield, at least. If not, and then the next level is full grass infield. They're just hard to maintain like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was like unstoppable.
Yeah.
We'll
you learn to be tough.
We'll play on gravel.
We're playing.
Right? When I grew up in the Northeast, you wanted to shoot hoops outside. You had to shovel the driveway first.
Yeah. Isn't that
right?
So how committed are you?
You already had that on so much snow on the driveway.
Yeah.
Got out the shovel, boom, off you went, and then
no excuses.
You
play
go,
like a champion.
gloves or no gloves.
Yeah.
Hard to shoot with the gloves, but it's cold without the gloves.
It's pretty chilly.
Right? It was always.
So, okay, many years from today, you're on your way out. Gosh, this got really morbid. I'm sorry.
No, good.
And you have a piece of paper, and you could write down one thing, a piece of advice that we already said what you would do for you, and maybe it's the same thing, maybe it's not, for Logan. If you could leave one guiding principle, one thought, one anything, would it be the same thing, or would it
sort
be,
of?
other than you love him?
It's a variation of it.
Yeah.
And that is, and you touched on it earlier, that, and this, when I talk about being the owner of the team, like that lesson. Everything in your life that you have, you're responsible for. Whether it's something that worked out or whether it's something that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Okay, you're responsible for it.
Yeah.
If you got, good friends, you picked them.
Yeah.
If you got knucklehead friends, guess what? You picked them. Okay. If you made the team because you did the extra, you earned that. If you sitting on the bench because you didn't do the extra, you earned that.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything you have in your life. Okay. Once in a while, a safe falls on a guy's head. Okay. Got it. But you were standing there.
Yeah.
Okay. And
now what?
some things, bad things happen, but now you got to go on to the next day.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, if there's a lesson I want to get him to get, because from that, everything else comes. Okay, that you're responsible for everything in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, and if your choice is I'm going to sit here and play video games all day, instead of playing a little video games and get my work done, get my school work, get my ball work, get that extra hour running, whatever it is, you're choosing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's if there's a lesson out there or a realization out there that that I don't know that very many people get. I watch our political system. I go, do these guys get that they're responsible for that? Like, you're responsible for this. Yeah. Okay. You're the dysfunction.
Yeah.
Okay. You're it.
Yeah.
Okay. You're there. You're it.
Yeah.
Do something about
Figure it out.
Okay. And even like bad luck. Shit happens. Okay. What are you gonna do about it? Another 100 stories. The worst thing in your life is the best thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you made something good out of it. Or are you gonna wallow? Right? You have the power for all that. That's the amazing beauty of it. You have the power to make all those choices. It's like I said, it's not like the old days where you're born on this side of the street, you got it. You're born over here, you're sentenced. Right? It doesn't work that way. Yeah. You have the power to make those choices every day of your life. So, like right now, I got to lose 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay. I put it on. Yeah. Nobody was, nobody was force feeding me.
I was at the dinners.
Nobody was force feeding me the pizza.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, enough. Get rid of it. Now my son wants to go play ball, and I go. He changes directions, and I don't.
Yeah.
That's on me, right?
Yeah.
So, again, so that's one of those things. I'm not saying you're going to make every right choice, and you're going to, live in Shangri-La every day.
But you got to take that responsibility.
You got to take that responsibility for everything that you have.
It sounds like you're saying attitude is everything, and I like it. It sounds like you're dialed in.
I wish I'd thought of that.
Yeah. Where did that come from? Appreciate you, man. Thanks again. Seriously, I'm so glad we could make time.